Hello, everybody. This is a video on present perfect. I know that present perfect can be confusing for a lot of people who are learning English as a second language because a lot of languages don't have perfect tenses. And present perfect can be confusing. So today, I kind of want to go through Michael Vance and how he discusses it and add a few things of my own. I've been teaching present perfect for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. And I've learned a few things that have helped make students or helped students understand it, a few shortcuts. And hopefully we can, help you understand that. And that's the goal. So you'll be able to use present perfect and teach it to others if you decide to become a teacher. So let's just go ahead and dig right into it. I'm going to bring up the lecture notes, which are on Moodle. Hopefully this works. Looks like it is. So you have the lecture notes on the Moodle, and this will be there as well. And oh no, okay, so whatever reason, let me figure this out. So it's kind of doing it weirdly. So first, let's just start with how do we form it? How do we make it? And you should know this already. This is something that isn't going to be a surprise to you, but we use the have, and that's going to be the have will be the only verb that's conjugated when we use it. The other two will stay the same, and it's in the present tense. And then we use the past participle or the third form of the verb, the past participle being, for example, see, saw, seen. It's that third verb in the um, like those sheets you would get when you were studying learning verbs at school. I think you're all familiar with those little tables. So have, had. It's had we use. So we use have plus seen, have plus had, have plus built, the third form. And it's have that's conjugated that changes according to if it's the first person, I have, or the plural, they have, or third person would be has, like they, she has, he has. All right. And here are examples. Again, most of you should probably know this. It's not anything unusual. Now, the first thing I want to say is that the present perfect, you need to think of it as a present tense. It is a present tense. I know a lot of times we want to think of it as a past tense because, well, it starts in the past or something, but it's called present perfect, so it's a present tense, meaning that we're going to use it when we're talking about something that's true right now, that's active right now. It's not finished, it's not over, it's true now. And if you can remember that, sometimes it helps bring a little understanding and clarity to the idea of what present perfect is. And here again, so now when do we use it? And I want to talk about maybe 4 or 5 different places that we use it. And kind of basic stuff. A lot of these you'll know, you'll be exposed to these, and a lot of you will be like, hey, why is he telling this? We know this forever, or we've known this since, like 5th, 6th grade at school. But a lot of people still get confused, and I just kind of want to review it. So now, the main idea with present perfect is, as you can see here, it starts back here in the past, but it's true today. It's true right now. It's active. All right. And this present perfect covers this period between sometime in the past and now. And that period can be 5 minutes or it can be 5 million years. It doesn't matter. The length of that time isn't important. What's important is that it's active now. So it's true. It's something that we want to find out or we want to communicate about something that's true or active now. So I like to use keywords when we're talking about verb tenses, and for present perfect, we have a lot of keywords. And in this context of something that has started in the past and is still true, which is, you know, the sort of the basic idea of present perfect, and not only present perfect, but perfect tenses in general. I believe I talked about that a little bit about when we were speaking about past tense. Perfect tenses, if it's a past perfect or future perfect, they cover a period of time up until a certain point. But let's focus today on present perfect. So it's now, it's present tense, and we're covering this period leading up to right now. And so keywords are, for one, is how long. So if you want to know how long something has happened, or how long someone has done something in the present tense, they still do it now, you're going to use present perfect like I just did. So for example, how long have you lived in Lovechkovice? All right, so you live in Lovechkovice. I don't know. I know you live there. You told me, but I don't know if you've lived there for 6 months or for 18 years. And I want to know how long. You live there now, and I want to know how long. So, how long have you lived in Lovechkovice? So, have you lived? That's present perfect. We're using have plus the third form of live, which is lived. Now, our answer to this how long question in when we're talking about something we want to know in present tense is usually going to cover, not always, but we're going to have two ways of answering that. And that would be with for, a period of time, or since a specific time in the past. So when we have for, and we're talking about in the present tense, for a period of time, it could be for 5 months, for 5 minutes, for 500 years, for 5 weeks. All right. So this is for a period of time, for 27 days, for 18 years, for 22 minutes. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's for a period of time. And since is going to reference a specific time in the past. Since my mom married Tibor, since I started school at UYEP, since 1962, since I met Boženka. All right. So this is a specific time, and we use since to cover that. Since up until now in the present perfect, or for how long. So these are keywords. Here's an example with Carlos. Carlos has sold houses for over 5 months now. So has sold, there's our present perfect. And we have for 5 months, for over 5 months. That is a period of time. And or another way to communicate a similar idea, Carlos has sold houses since he moved to Usti. Since he moved to Usti. So that was 5 months ago. He moved to Usti 5 months ago, and he sold houses for 5 months, or since he moved to Usti. All right. So that's kind of the basic idea of present perfect. And let's go over a few more situations where we use it to hopefully make it clear to you guys. Now, we use it for recent events like it's written here, or new information, like information that I haven't heard before or you haven't heard before. Our keyword is just. And just, if we were speaking about something now that's active now, and we're going to use just very often, you can use present perfect. And this is where I always have to make a disclaimer, because the present perfect, the British speakers, the English, people who speak British English, they use present perfect in a lot of situations that people who speak American English or Canadian English wouldn't use it. They would use simple tense, but we'll talk about that later. But what I want to expose you to is kind of like everywhere you can use present perfect, because if you ever do decide to take a Cambridge exam or an Oxford or first certificate or whatever, like it's much better if you can use British grammar, because they're really into that kind of thing, and I wouldn't want you to lose points. Okay, so, and this is a situation for a recent event where the British would use present perfect. So I have just been ripped off. Ripped off, I hope you know what that means. That means somebody stole something from me, my phone, and it's something that's very recent. It's very recent. It's new information. It's happened in the recent past, like, and I've never heard this information before. So I've just been ripped off. Like, so, I'm on the train, someone steals my bag, and I call up, I've been ripped off. I've just been ripped off. I call up Boženka and tell her, all right, I've just been ripped off. It's new information to her, and it's in the recent past. Or here we have about Lance. After 14 years of looking online, he has finally found a girlfriend. This is new. Maybe he found that girlfriend like 2 months ago or 2 weeks ago. But for us, like in our conversation, someone doesn't know that information, and it's new. It's recent information. It's a recent event. Or I bought a new car. Okay, so I call up Boženka, and I'm like, hey, yeah, I did it. I bought that. I bought a new car. I bought a new car. And of course, she wants to know what kind it is, and I just say, yeah, it's a Dacia. And she gets upset, because she wanted a VW, but whatever. I've just bought a new car. And again, to be clear, this is a situation where the Americans would use, I bought a new car. I just bought a new car. They wouldn't use present perfect. And on my credit tests, I accept both. Okay, I'm never going to give you a hard time if you use American grammar or British grammar. It's like both of them are okay. But it's good that you know the British grammar in case you need to take a British test. And they kind of have a monopoly on all those language tests. All right. So just so you know, another one is ever, never. I think this is quite easy, and a lot of you know this really well. And we use it, we use ever in questions, okay? And the idea of ever in present perfect, it refers to your whole life. It refers to the very moment you were born up until now. And it's a question only. We use ever. There are situations we don't use ever in questions, but for today, let's think of ever as something we only use in questions. And so here's our examples. Have you ever seen a pink unicorn? Not in person, I have in books. Have you ever swum in the ocean? I'm asking you if you've ever swum in the ocean from the very first moment you were born up until now. Have you ever flown on an airplane? Have you ever been to the Swiss Alps? Have you ever eaten sea goulash? Has Bobby ever traveled to Europe? So it's a very simple structure, and we're asking, these are normal questions, and we're asking about, we don't know about their whole life, their whole existence, and it covers that. And remember, it's only in a question. Now, in the negative form with ever, it's usually never. All right. If somebody asks us an ever question, we usually have never. So Tibor has never eaten snake. He's never eaten snake. Hey, Tibor's never eaten snake. Come on, Tibor, we got some grilled snake. People do eat that. And come on, Tibor, have a look. And so that's the negative. Now, you can say Tibor hasn't eaten snake before, but that doesn't really cover his whole life. So we use never. These two, ever and never, get combined. Vince does it. not only Vince, most people who teach present perfect, they combine these. So, and we have Vradek and Peggy have never had a fight. All right. The whole time they've been together, they've never had a fight, which is pretty weird. If you've been with someone for, you know, even 6 months and you've never had a fight, I don't, yeah, whatever. But they've never had a fight that whole period. That's the grammar's negative. All right. So again, now we have yet and already, and we use yet in questions and negative sentences only in questions. And the idea with yet is that we know it's going to happen. It's clear that this event is going to happen, but we don't know if it has happened yet. We don't know. All right. So, for example, I know that Bill is going to buy a ticket to Greece. All right. I know that. We talked about it last week. So, and I see Bill's girlfriend and I say, Bill, has Bill bought the ticket to Greece yet? All right. So I know that he's going to buy that ticket. And his girlfriend says, no, he hasn't bought it yet. All right. But in that sentence, it's implied that we know he's going to buy it. All right. So here we have, I hope you can see my cursor. It's in questions and negative sentences only. Again, these rules are pretty strong. You'll find some exceptions, but I think for today we want to just make sure we understand these rules. So, and again, yet is here as it's written down. We expect or know something's going to happen. It's going to be done. You know, it's like the classic examples. It's like, have you done your homework yet? I know you have homework. It's like 8 o'clock, you're playing video games. You know, you have to wake up and go to school in the morning and, hey, have you done your homework yet? And you're like, oh, yeah, I've already done my homework. All right, so what is already? Now, we use already in positive sentences very often after a question has been asked of yet, and it's when something it's finished, it's done, right? It has been done, and it happens sooner than expected, or it happens sooner than expected. So here's my example. Evgen, have you done your homework yet? And which I just brought up. And Evgen's like, oh, I've already done it, Mom. So here's our already. And, you know, it's happened sooner or later. And, but we're expecting it. That's why these are connected. Yet and already we're expecting certain outcomes in the future, right? We're expecting certain things to happen or events, but we don't know if those events or actions have happened yet. Maybe they have already happened, but we don't know if they've happened yet. So these two are connected. Ever and never are connected. For and since are connected with how long, you know. And if we can sort of figure these things out in present perfect, it really, really does help us kind of guide us and know where we can use them and use them in the right way. Use them in the right way. With this idea that a perfect tense starts in the past and goes forward. There's a couple other examples. All right, so let's go. We do need to speak briefly about present perfect continuous because you know, this is a normal question. When do I use the continuous tense? Is there a difference between this and the normal present perfect. And again, how do we make it? We make the present perfect continuous. We use have plus been plus an ing verb. All right. So have plus been plus ing, because continuous tenses like are always a gerund or an ing verb. So they have, here's how, this is how we would put it together. I know most of you know this. They have been trying to phone their mom all morning. They've been trying to phone their mom. Have plus been, here is our ing. All right. And Roger has been listening to the same song over and over for 45 minutes. So Roger has been listening. Now, I know you probably know how to make it, but it's important to remember that. You don't want to say Roger have been listening. A lot of people make mistakes on exams, on my credit test, and they won't conjugate the verb have and put it in the right form, and they lose the point. Okay, because at this level, you guys really do need to know that. You need to know that if it's third person, like in present perfect or present perfect continuous, that needs to be a has. All right. And now, again, it's a present continuous. And how do we understand that? It follows kind of these continuous patterns of where we have an action in progress, right? We have an action in progress, and sometimes it's interrupted, or it's the idea that it's in progress and we know it started here in the past and we know it's going to continue into the future. It's active right now, but we don't know how long it's going to continue into the future. But it's kind of temporary, and we know that it will finish at some point. That's key. We know it will finish. This is present perfect continuous, and it's a state, it's active now, right? And it kind of has this temporary quality, all right? Temporary. It's sort of like, I don't know what's wrong. I've been feeling down lately. So I started feeling down back here, and I feel down today, and I have been feeling down lately, and probably will tomorrow, and probably will the next day. So this is like but I won't forever. You know, it's not a permanent situation. It's temporary. And I'm sort of in the middle of it, but it started back here. This is one of the places, and this is the continuous idea. This is one of the places we use it. And again, this is another one, an incomplete activity, and it has a similar idea. You can see that I'm in the process of doing it. I know it will finish. If you can understand that with present perfect continuous, you know that it's not going to last forever. All right. You know that it has a finite period to it. So we've been painting our garage for weeks and still haven't finished it. So we have been painting. We started back here. We're not painting it right now. You know, right now we're shopping at Lidl and we see our friends and, you know, how you doing? What's going on? Oh, you know, we've been remodeling our house. We've been painting our garage for weeks. Now, we know that it will finish at some point over here, maybe in 2 weeks. And this is where you use this continuous tense, or in this example, a present perfect continuous, all right? So these are all examples here that Vince uses that I think are quite useful. And these are in the book. And again, one of the things I like about Vince, and the reason we use it, is that he describes the grammar in a fairly straightforward and as simple way as possible. With, you know, he doesn't always do it completely effectively, but on the whole, I think he does a good job. So, and these are examples that he gives here that are on this page. Excuse me. So we emphasize duration. All right. And if you emphasize something, it's like we highlight it. So Hank has been drinking for 12 hours now. I'm worried. He's been sitting there in the pub and he's just been drinking. He's had a hard time. He lost his job. His dog ran away and he's depressed, and he has been drinking for 12 hours. So we're emphasizing a specific time or duration. But again, it's continuous, and we know that it's temporary. Like he's not going to stay there for the rest of his life. It's finite. It's something that's going to end. All right. Now, this is another place we use it, and it's a recently finished activity. And here we have an example. I'm supposed to meet my friends at Johannahof, which is a nice restaurant or a pub. And, I show up 45 minutes late and they're like, where are you? You didn't answer your messages. We thought you weren't coming. It's like, oh, yo, sorry. I've been fighting with Bozhenka again. All right. And that's why I'm late. Now, so when I say that, it's sort of like, this is like something that's I've happened, that's done, that's occurred many times, and it probably will continue. All right. Now, if I say present perfect, I've just had a fight with Bozhenka. That's fine. That's like one fight. I'm referencing one fight, that just happened. But if I say I've been fighting with Bozhenka again, that could mean I'm talking about like, oh, it's all afternoon. We've been fighting up until 7. We've been fighting again. It's like it's sort of like something we do. And, but like, okay, but like I'm not right now because I'm here in the pub Johannahof with you. Again, Michael Vince gives some good examples of this. And there's not a big difference between this one and then what we have at number 5, where it's a repeated activity. And yeah, it's sort of like, here we have Martinka has been doing yoga the last 6 months. Now, is she still doing yoga? Yeah, she will probably continue to do it into the future. She started back there. And this brings me to another point, which is there isn't always, this is kind of might be helpful, a big difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous. And sometimes you can choose which one you want to use. So I always use the example of I have lived in Litoměřice for 5 years. And I've been living in Litoměřice for 5 years. So are there differences in meaning when I say that? So if I tell you I've lived in Litoměřice for 5 years, it's clear I live here now, and I started 5 years ago, and I still live here. And if I say, am I communicating anything different if I say I've been living there for 5 years? Not necessarily, depending on context. If someone tells me, or I meet someone and they're like, where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live in Litoměřice. And they're like, what? I didn't know that. I thought that you lived in Rodnice. I'm like, no. I've been living there for 5 years. Okay. Or I can say, I've lived there for 5 years. That's the meaning's the same. The meaning's the same. Now, but if I want to focus on it's not permanent, it's more temporary. And I'm probably ready to move from Litoměřice to Lovečkovice with Bozhenka, because that's where she lives. So I can say, well, I've been living in Litoměřice for 5 years and it's time to move on. So there I can use that continuous, and you know, it kind of gives us the idea that it's even though it's been 5 years, it's a temporary idea. But what I really want you to focus on today is that a lot of times there's only a few situations where we really, really, really need to use the present perfect continuous. And we've discussed those. And but in general, you can use either one. You can use either one, but not always, all right? Now, here we have a couple of other things which I just want to bring to your attention. And this kind of talks to the same idea. Some verbs, we have some examples here, and Vince gives some examples as well. We have sit and lie and wait and stay. They use the continuous form more often. It's sort of like if you're going to use that verb, you're going to use a continuous form the majority of the time, but not always. But you can use both, and then sometimes the meaning's different. And as your English gets better, when you can distinguish or tell the difference between like the meaning in these sentences, it means that you're really getting much better with your English. So here's the difference that I like to bring out. So I've been staying at this hotel for 6 months now. So have been staying, that is present continuous. And what does that mean if we think about it? So I moved to that hotel, or I started to stay there or staying there 6 months ago, and I'm still there. But I've been staying, it's not going to be permanent. All right, but I've been staying here at that hotel for 6 weeks or 6 months because it's in Bratislava and I'm working on a really big project, and I'm there at that hotel. All right, but it's not permanent. All right, it's temporary. Now, but I can say I've stayed at this hotel many times. And so what does that mean? If I say I've stayed at this hotel many times, both of those are good grammar. Both of these, this is present perfect. This is present perfect continuous, the first one. So if I use stayed at this hotel many times, like what that means is that sometime at one point in the past, right? I stayed at that hotel, and then again, and that I've done it. In the past, I've stayed there many times, and I can stay there in the future. It's still open. It's a possibility that I can stay there at this hotel in the future. All right. I still travel to that town. So, but I'm not there right now. I'm not at that hotel right now. Okay. I could be, but I don't have to be. I don't have to be. So here's another idea, or here's another example where the meaning actually isn't different. Here, the meaning's different. So Maggie has been sitting on the couch all morning. So where is Maggie right now? She's still on the couch. She's got her phone out. She's been watching TikTok stuff and YouTube and Instagram like all morning. She's just like, or Martin has sat on that couch all morning. Now, one is present continuous, one is present perfect, or present perfect continuous, the first one, or present perfect. The meaning is more or less the same, okay? I can use either of those. Martin has sat on the couch all morning. But here's the third one. Martin has sat on that couch once or twice in his life. So what are we talking about? There's a couch. It's in our living room where we live, and we're talking about Martin, and somebody like he's have visited us a couple times, and Martin has sat on that couch. It's not right now, but starting somewhere in the past, during that period up until now, he sat on that couch twice, and maybe he can sit on it a third time. So here we have the meaning is different from has sat on that couch all morning, has been sitting on the couch all morning. The meaning's the same, but one is continuous and one is perfect. Okay, I hope this isn't getting too confusing. Now, what I do want to highlight real quickly before I bore you guys completely to death is like, well, when do we use past simple and when do we use present perfect? Are there any sort of keywords or situations, if we understand them correctly, that can kind of help us figure that out? And so first thing, let's just review past simple a little bit. Is remember, past simple is over, it's finished, it's definite. We're talking about it's like not active now. All right, we have a few keywords. So these keywords will help us. We're in the past. Words like yesterday, last week, in the summer, which means we're referring to last summer. On Friday, last Friday, 2 months ago. This word go, ago. Whenever we use ago, we're going to go into a simple tense, okay? A past tense, sorry. And it can be 5 minutes ago, it can be 5,000 years ago, 5 weeks ago, 5 months ago, 5 million years ago, 5 seconds ago. We use ago, and we're going to get into, we need to use a past simple tense or a past tense. You know, sometimes continuous, but a past tense for sure. So now, if you're going to, you want to talk about something that happened last week or yesterday or last summer or on your vacation in Mexico or last 2 months ago. All right, we're going into a simple tense. We're not going to use a perfect tense. We're not going to use present perfect, you know, for sure. We might use past perfect, but we're not going to use present perfect. So, and here's an example. Last summer, I lost my keys when I fell into Majas Lake. All right. So that's last summer. I lost. That's past simple. All right. And that's in the past. I'm not going to bring any present perfect because present perfect is a present tense. Now, and remember, present perfect was true and it's true or active right now. All right. So, and again, we talked about these keywords of since and for. And here we have Elvira has cooked for her mother since her mother's illness. So if it's active and true now, and we want to talk about a period of time, like we discussed earlier, we're going to use present perfect. All right. Now, and here's a couple simple comparisons that kind of make it clear. And if we can think about these the right way, they can really help. So he has written 7 novels. He has written 7 novels, or so that's present perfect. And then we have he wrote 7 novels. So what is the difference? What is the difference? He has written 7 novels and he wrote 7 novels. So what can we understand by those examples? So when we say he has written 7 novels, we know that the writer is still alive, and in the past, over a period of time and years, they have written 7 books, 7 novels, and it's possible that they will write more. It's not, maybe their writing career is not finished, okay? Now, but if I say he wrote 7 novels, what does that mean? Basically, it means he is not writing any more novels. Either the author has died or the author has said, I'm finished writing, and he is not, it's finished. The writing of novels is finished, okay? All right, and that's, if we can kind of begin to understand that, it's helpful. Here's another easy example. Marcus lived in Turkey for 6 years. Marcus has lived in Turkey for 6 years. This is kind of the easy classic example. And this is where the first one, Marcus no longer lives in Turkey, but he did for 6 years in the past, okay? But if I want to know about now, and I'm using a period of time, I have to use present perfect. And he has lived in Turkey for 6 years. He lives there now. So we can't say Marcus lives in Turkey for 6 years. That's just bad English grammar, right? This is where it doesn't matter if you're American or British or, you know, Nigerian or Australian, you're going to use present perfect when you want to talk about how long over a period of time, and it's true now. So Marcus has lived in Turkey for 6 years, all right? So there's present perfect. I bought a new iPhone last week. That's clear. I bought, past simple, last week. It's got to be in the past, you know? And I've bought a new iPhone, which is, again, this is more British English, but it's it's something that's just happened recently. It's new information that I'm telling you about. Oh, I've just bought a new iPhone. It's really cool, or whatever. All right. All right. Now, again, present perfect is really important. We use it everywhere, all over the world. And again, just to remind you, it's more British than American, but Americans use it. You need to know it. As your grammar gets better, you'll be able to figure out the differences, where the Americans would use it. And then one example would be like what we just saw, like, I just bought a phone. I just bought an iPhone. That would be American English. You would go into past simple, or I've just bought a phone. So, and again, on my credit test, I'm going to give you credit for what, it doesn't matter to me. Both are legitimate, both ways, there's no problem with either one. So, and again, here's some other examples between the British and the American. Have you finished yet? Which is present perfect. Have you finished your homework yet? Did you finish yet? This would be like kind of more Americans with that. Would be normal if you lived in New York or, Chicago, LA or something. And again, we talked about, I've just lost my keys. I just lost my keys. That's an Americanism. So these are places where you're going to have the opportunity. Americans have had a tendency to take the English, because there were so many immigrants that came to America and the language was simplified, because, the history of America is a history of immigration, and they learned English as a second language at, these immigrants, and they simplified the language. And a lot of those simplifications got codified into American grammar, which sometimes makes the English mad, but what can we do about that? So, but again, if you do a CAE or Cambridge exam, you want to use the British grammar if you can, because they're not going to dock points from you. And again, I don't really care what you use. So, and this is just a review of the perfect tenses, which I talked a little bit about. Present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. We're going to talk about future perfect more in the future tense lecture. But the idea with the perfect tense is, like I said, there's a point in time, and it covers a period up to a point in time. And present perfect, that time is now, active. Past perfect, that's a point here, and then some period before it in the past. And in the future, it'll be something similar. So, and that is basically it, what I wanted to go over today. I hope that was useful. I'll put up, feel free to contact me with any questions or anything, but I know it can be a little mind-numbing and difficult, present perfect, but hopefully that helps you guys out. All right, that's it. Have a good one.